Electricast.
In the U.S., there's a break-in every 26 seconds. But when intruders step near, Simply Safe Home Security steps up.
Stop. This is Simply Safe. Police are on the way.
Using AI alerts, U.S.-based live agents help deter break-ins. Simply Safe, no long-term contracts. Save 50% on your new system with professional monitoring at simplysafe.com/Spotify or with promo code Spotify.
Outdoor deterrence requires a Simply Safe Active Guard outdoor protection plan starting at $49.99 a month. Visit simplysafe.com/licenses for alarm license information. Tennessee 2012.
What up? It's Interview Style, where we talk about movies or whatever. Iris, what do you think about movies that set up all their stuff so that at the end, when the big reveal happens or the climax happens, it's super satisfying?
Whew. It's hard to do. This day and age, keeping someone's attention when it's all just set up, it's really risky. But if you manage to make the setup relatively interesting and then pay it off big time, I can think of some Quentin Tarantino examples, then it really works and is super satisfying. You know, that's something that the kids say. Palom's always like, that's sus, or that's satisfying. Is that weird?
Satisfying? I have not heard. Sus? I don't know that the kids came up with that, but okay.
Anyway, everything's sus, whether it's cool or weird or funny or genuinely suspicious.
Is it also sus if you just don't understand it? If you don't know what that thing is, then you're suspicious of it?
Yeah, it's like gnarly. It's a catch-all term.
Okay. What's satisfying about Tarantino?
Well, I always go back to the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood example, spoiler, where there's all the business with the dog and all the business with Leonardo DiCaprio and his alcoholism and the parallel story with the Manson cult. Austin Butler, right? An Academy Award-winning Nora starring Mikey Madsen. Madsen, right?
Madison, yeah.
Madison. Yeah, all that stuff is tedious and it feels unrelated, but it all comes together in a really climactic finale and a genuinely great performance by Leonardo DiCaprio. And Brad Pitt, but only to a certain extent, because it's a little bit like Brad Pitt playing stoned Brad Pitt.
Oscar winners all over the place in that scene, the end scene.
Yeah, dude.
I think if you're going to revise history, it has to be believable, right? But do you think that Tarantino's setups are procedural? Because when you're watching, and we do get a great setup for Brandy and how she responds to his commands and doesn't move to eat dinner and all that stuff. And we obviously the flamethrower is established and well set up. So when he busts that bad boy out, you're not like, where did that come from? So it's pretty clean. But I wonder if it's formulaic writing in the same way as adhering strictly to a 3-act structure is.
He knows where he wants to go, and at this point, I trust him to lead me there. But all the tedious setup only works because it's set up masquerading as character study. You just get this kind of intimate moment with Brad Pitt and the dog, and you see his life, how kind of modest or maybe even kind of sad and isolated his life is outside of his relationship with his boss. And so you think, oh, I'm just understanding this character a little bit better. But then much later you realize how important it is to the story because of how it pays off.
If there was ever an example of a movie that focuses or revolves around the final scene, this is a great example because most of us know what happened to Sharon Tate. And not really. And so, like I said, if you're going to change it, you really got to change it in a way that is believable and really pays off and sells everything you've been saying for that movie, 2.5 hours at least. That's a really good example.
Even the Sharon Tate reveal at the end, spoiler, pays off on the title, Once Upon a Time, ... And you realize this is all just a fairy tale. Did you know going into that movie that it was revisionist history?
Not a clue, although maybe we should have because he did the same thing with Inglourious Basterds, spoiler. So I could see, and the title implied something fairy tale-ish. But no, I didn't see it coming. It paid off after the fact for me in that respect. I was like, oh, now I understand. But for other people that I know that went into that movie ice cold, had no idea how the subject was subverted and changed, it also didn't pay off because that's just how it was. It wasn't a revision of history. What about the Shawshank Redemption?
Did you know Zihuatanejo? Real place.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, come on, we're grounding this, we're basing this in reality. As much as this is a microcosmic kind of story that happens in a prison, which, like the Overlook Hotel, may or may not have some elements of magic. Like, within these walls, we can suspend a little bit of disbelief, despite Red saying prison is no fairy tale place. But think about it. The rock hammer is established, so it's not like, wait, where did they get that? The poster is established. The turn, where you're invested and you're like, oh my God, what did Andy do to himself? And everybody's wondering, and even Red is in the dark and wondering. They set that up really nicely with Brooks as a misdirect.
So structurally, the screenplay sets it all up. But when does Andy devise the plan? Is it before the reveal about the witness, the prison witness, or is it after? Like, Andy's got a pretty good setup. Is Andy plotting his escape the entire time?
Yes. 20 years it took him to tunnel through that wall using the rock hammer, and in flashback he gets the hammer and then tries to carve Andy was here in the wall of the cell, and the big chunk of dirt or whatever comes out of the wall of cement. And so he's been steadily carving and not saying anything to anyone.
Well, how far do you think he was through the wall when the witness surfaced?
If Tommy did help him be exonerated and he was free, would he be like, sorry about that wall? Or would he leave it for the next person and hope they don't take the poster down first?
Yeah, and is that a crime? Is it a crime to tunnel?
I'm sure it's a crime to deface the prison and do that stuff for the walls. It's obviously an attempt. But if he's exonerated of the crime, isn't he absolved of any wrongdoing he does while in his undeserved prison sentence?
Law, dude. Let us know, 818-835-0473 or orwhatevermovies@gmail.com.
We had Red's parole hearings consistently, so it wasn't out of the question. How are they going to be reunited? Would they be reunited? Would that matter? Because Red was actually in there for a real crime.
It doesn't really serve a story purpose per se, but so important, essential to Red's arc.
Interesting that hope is kind of the theme of this movie, that if you keep hope alive, there's nothing left, right? Get busy living or get busy dying. And Red, by the time he was released, had really abandoned all hope of being released. But, really early on, so early on, that I don't think anyone who's seeing the movie cold without reading the book would be like, oh, I bet Randall Stevens comes into play, the man on paper who's responsible for all of the warden's nefarious dealings,
You're talking about the alternate, identity that Andy creates.
Yeah. And he said the irony is that I was completely honest outside of prison. I had to come to prison to be a criminal because he buried all of Norton's wrongdoing in the paperwork. And so when he left prison, when he escaped, he actually became the criminal, Randall Stevens, who did all that shady stuff and hid all that money. But pretty good examples if we do say so ourselves. Thanks for playing. Okay, love you. Bye.
Electric acid.